Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Daily BizLink. Stacie Mallen is back, and today we're really focused on vulnerability. So, Stacie, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks. Lindsay, I was listening to the episode that's coming up that you recorded with us on for Optimized, and something that we talked a little bit about was how do you lead right now? Because again, I don't know about you, it's a week doesn't go by and there's not some other kind of monkey wrench thrown into your week. And everybody's experiencing that. And as I was sitting on one-on-ones last week with, I have a team of 10 people, and I was doing skip levels and direct one-on-ones. And it just came to mind several times that everyone is still struggling and having challenges. And those are very real in focus things for people right now. So when you hear the word vulnerability, what do you think about?
Well, I think this is such a timely topic, and I'm so glad this is what we're discussing today. But vulnerability to me is almost leading by example and kind of showing, it's okay to kind of put it out there and to express your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Because when you build trust with your team, that should be the safe zone where everybody can help to further support one another and help each other out. So, vulnerability, I think, is crucial to building successful teams and kind of getting through this situation.
I think so too. And I think in building trust, which, is a huge part of my jam. And it came to mind, do you remember the first time you've ever heard the words Brene Brown? Did you read a book by her, or have you been exposed much to her?
Oh yeah, I mean, between her books or her quotes or her feature on what I can't remember what platform it was, Amazon or Netflix or whatever it was. But
Yeah.
yeah, she seemed to blow up overnight.
Yeah, and so she has the fourth highest rated TED Talk still to this day, when she's talking about vulnerability. So when you look at that evidence, clearly people want to be vulnerable. And I sent this to my team yesterday. I sent that TED Talk to my team yesterday, and I was saying, what's funny is when I first heard her TED Talk and I bought her book, and now she has, Dare to Lead, which is much more business centric. That's kind of how she's kind of transitioned. But when I first heard Brene Brown talking about vulnerability, I was really applying it to my personal life. And so her big rules are show up and be seen, ask for what you need, talk about how you're feeling, and have the hard conversations. And so some of those things you think, well, it's really applicable in my personal life, with my personal relationships, with my children. But now we know that it is really critical for leaders leading right now that they're also doing those things. And to your point, in your definition of vulnerability, leading by example. So, what are we sharing? Are we asking our teams and our leaders for what we really need? How are we showing up for people? Are we showing up in ways that feel really authentic and warm to them? Talk about how you're feeling right now. I'm struggling. I have this going on in my family, or we got another call from the high school yesterday with, so people are quarantined for another 17 days, whatever is going on. And I think to your point, that opens the door. And then have the hard conversations. We've talked about this before, and not, it's not always comfortable right now when we can feel that other people aren't at their best or feeling very comfortable to have those hard conversations. But I think it is really important for us right now to be talking about the hard stuff, and for us to get to where we need to go.
Well, I think this is something for everybody to be mindful of. But if leaders in our business community are looking for some additional advice, I have to plug our recent podcast episode because we covered so much great content in there and there were some really awesome takeaways. So, Stacie, for those that have not already subscribed to your podcast, where can they find it?
So Blake and I are Optimized AF, and we're really about life is hard. We try to make it simple. That's our whole jam. So when Lindsay came on, leading is hard. It's complex. How do we try to help people have takeaways? And vulnerability is a good example of that. And here's what I've said, sort of simplified vulnerability down to is you can't be brave without vulnerability. So, keeping that, having that mantra in your mind is, you can't really be doing the hard things or doing the brave things in life without showing up in a vulnerable way. And it's just something really good to keep top of mind right now as people are struggling. And as we, dive into our podcast every week, we have no choice but to be vulnerable because it's our lives. But it's taught me a lot about how people connect on that level when you're brave enough to be vulnerable.
Well, I think that sounds like a great challenge for leaders this week to show up, be more vulnerable, and to help your team members out even more through those actions. So, Stacie, appreciate you being here.
Thank you.